Hi everyone, I'm Tina, the creative guru with Gems, Paper, Scissors, and I am going to introduce you to non-paper stamping. This is going to be just an overview and not a full-on class. So you're going to get the basics without the step-by-step. So as you can see, I've got a couple of things that I've stamped on. These are just using our traditional acrylic stamps. I've stamped on a candle that I got at the Dollar General. I've got a couple of glass items. In the past, I have used this exact same technique to stamp on velvet, felt, silk scarves. My favorite is to take little velvet, little satchels and stamp a theme with a person's name for gift for different potlucks or when I do a retreat, I like giving gifts that way. So I'm going to quickly show you how I do this. Every time you stamp on a non-traditional surface, meaning not paper, you need to use a different ink than standard. And although we don't have every single color in our pigment-based inks, we do have several. They're not in our catalog, but they are online only. So you can go ahead and do a search on my page, which is tinabs.closetomyheart.com, and do a search for pigment-based ink. So I'm going to continue working on this glass jar so that I can put out little goodies. I'm going to move some of these out of the way. And all you do is you can put your stamp of choice onto a stamp block, or in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and peel up my stamp. I'm using our current special, which is the Boo Crew. I'm going to put it actually on the carrier sheet because if you're doing something like a candle or this glass, it's round, right? It's not a flat surface. So on this particular one, I'm going to actually cap off this jar with this little wet witch's hat, just because I think it's going to be fun. And again, the acrylic blocks are really nice for flat surfaces, but if you don't have one or you're doing a non-flat surface, get creative. Our acrylic block carrier sheets are flexible, so they wrap around what you're stamping on really nice. I'm going to use our black pigment ink. And all you do is just like standard stamping is you ink it up. And because this moves, your carrier sheet is going to get gross, but it washes off. So, and even if it didn't, it's not something you're giving away. It's just a tool, right? So get it all juicy. And this works because pigment ink stays wet a long time. You could use our embossing ink, which is clear, and then sprinkle this with embossing powder and heat emboss it. Or you can go ahead and just use it as a color. So all you do is ink up and then be careful of your other ink on here. This likes to slide, so be gentle instead of doing your standard smoosh. But if it does slide, it's not a big deal. You can always tidy it up with a tissue, or you can even wipe it off. Say, you know, that was really messier than I wanted. You could wipe the whole thing off. I'm just going to tidy it up. Scratch it. Let's wipe it off. This, again, it stays wet a very, very long time. So you can help that along by using the heat tool to dry it faster. But especially on glass, I tend to just set it aside and let it dry overnight. And that's just a preference of mine. But again, you can speed it along. So I'm going to go just like so. And lift it off. And I did not get it pushed down enough, so I'm going to slide that back over and touch it on all the little spots without being too muddy mushy. The bigger your stamped image, the harder it is to get perfected, especially on glass. On fabric, it's much, much easier. But I kind of like that funky little witch's hat. So I'm going to let that dry. And I'm going to tidy up my carrier sheet, wipe off my witch's hat, and put it away. Now, if you are doing something like this glass, you're going, well, but what happens? How is that food grade safe? Will it wash away when I put it in the dishwasher? The answer is no, it is not food safe. It will wash off in the dishwasher, but you can fix that. Most craft shops have a gloss medium that is a multi-purpose medium, and just make sure, ask the staff to help you if you need it, that when it dries clear and that it is food grade safe. So what I tend to do is I take this acrylic gloss medium. It's kind of like, if you've ever gotten crafty and you wanted to Mod Podge, it's kind of like that as far as its viscosity, and it's kind of a opaque white. When it dries clear and turns your glass project into something that is food grade safe, so you can drink on it. You can put appetizers on a plate this way, and you can shove it through the dishwasher. So if that is what you are after, go and pick up an extra medium gloss coat and follow its instructions. Typically, like I usually coat this on, and so I'd stamped this, and then the next day after I let it dry overnight, I would go over it with a paintbrush. And by the end of the day or the next morning, it's completely dry, it's cured, and it's ready to use. So basically, budget 2 days, and everything will be nice and dry and perfect. So that is the quickie tutorial of how do you stamp on non-paper projects. And again, because it's wet longer, it allows for a lot of smears, a lot of correction, a lot of, I didn't really like that, so I lifted it off or I wiped it off, and stamp it again until it is what you like. Thank you much. Have a great day, and I look forward to teaching you tomorrow.